after we finish filming today, remember to take the Labubu with you.
Yes.
For your friends.
For my friends. Yeah. I'm about to make my friend like the coolest grandma ever.
You really are.
Megan very graciously gave me an outfit matching Labubu the other day.
I mean, you paid for it. Oh, that one. No,
yeah,
I did.
No,
You're right.
First,
I did gift you.
See, you did the
I
perfect drug dealer thing. The first one was free.
The first Labubu was free. Yeah, I didn't intend to become like the Labubu dealer for the neighborhood, but nobody else can figure out TikTok Live. I mean, so I'm doing it.
I mean, this is the reason why they're so rare for the kids is because you have to figure out TikTok Live to get them.
Correct. So only people under a certain age are able to access them right now.
Yeah, and so it was like, so my friend was telling me who's grandma age. And she was telling me about how her granddaughter's birthday is coming up. And I was like, I know the perfect gift. I know who to contact. Your granddaughter is going to be so insanely happy that she's going to get a legitimate unopened Labubu. I got you.
I'm excited for her.
Yeah.
And I gave her lychee berry, so she's going to get the pink one.
Oh, I think they're going to enjoy that. Yeah.
Seems like 10-year-old granddaughter energy.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like, yes, it feels like I got the same vibes as Beanie Babies.
Oh, of course that's what they are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I've witnessed this craze before, and I know how much fun it can be as long as you just kind of are vibing and don't take it too seriously. So yeah, I have a Labubu collection. I love my Labubus.
You have a great Labubu collection.
Thank you. I kind of want to do like a Labubu plus book covers.
Oh,
thing
that would be
for
a great
social
video.
media. Yeah, where I kind of like pick our favorite romance novels and pair it with like a Labubu.
Forget fucking wine pairings. We're doing Labubu
pairings is where it's at right now. Sorry, internet. I don't make the rules. Well, speaking of enjoying things, I was thinking that we might do a book today. We forgot to introduce ourselves.
I think this is the part we introduce.
Shall we do it now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, my name's Megan.
And I'm Emmy.
And you're listening to Smut in Public.
Smut in Public.
And this is a podcast where we read and then review romance novels.
Yes, we do. And today we bring you the most liquidy,
the drippiest, slippiest
of romance novels.
We're doing Quicksilver today, which is the Fae and Alchemy Book 1. We did a little research. This is planned as a trilogy, and Book 2, Brimstone, actually comes out this year, November 2025.
Yeah, I'm real glad I waited to read this because now I'm not going to have to wait too much longer for the other one.
The author for this is named Callie Hart, and interestingly, I'm embarrassed to say I had not heard of Callie Hart before I read Quicksilver, and I looked her up on Goodreads, and this woman has 49 books.
That is crazy.
That she wrote in addition to Quicksilver.
Are any of the other ones like super hits like this?
No.
Okay.
Well, I take that back. They might be, but they are all contemporary dark romance, and some of them are like dark academia.
Right.
And as our listeners are learning, we are kind of monster and more fantasy, romantasy.
True.
You know, not that we intend to be that way. It's just how our tastes run.
Yeah, if you put 10 books in front of us, we're picking the one where the lady fucks the monster.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of our energy. And so I think for that reason, we just hadn't run across her work previously. But I'm excited to actually go and read more of her books because she's got quite a discography.
Man, yeah. I guess if we liked this, we should check out one of her other books for sure.
I think we should. So Quicksilver came out just last year in 2024, and it is pretty meaty. It's over 600 pages, which is not surprising. You know, Romantasy tends to be a thicker book.
A thicker genre.
She thick.
Look, if I'm going to hear about all kinds of fantasies and fays and dragons and whatnot, I want it to go on for 1,000 pages. You need the page count.
Okay, you need that page count for world building.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
It's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to do a little non-spoiler plot summary and do a couple of ratings, and then we'll get into a spoiler break. So in Quicksilver, Sarah Sfain has spent her life scraping by as a thief in a desert world ruled by a cruel and undying queen. A run-in with law enforcement forces her to escape through a mysterious portal to the frozen mountains of Yavelia, a land where Fae rule and humankind hasn't set foot in over a millennia. Ignorant of the ways of the Fae, Ceres accidentally makes a bargain that magically ties her to Kingfisher, a mercurial Fae warrior who hopes to exploit her rare affinity for Quicksilver, a volatile magical substance that could tip the balance of power in both worlds forever. The story explores their reluctant partnership as secrets unravel and the true stakes of their magical bond become clear, set against the backdrop of ancient magic, political intrigue, and a world where survival will come with great sacrifice.
That was great.
Thank you.
That was good.
Hey.
You should have been in the audiobook.
Are you slipping and sliding?
Ooh. It's a good thing that this is a velvet chair. I'm not sliding on the leather out of it. Yeah. The vibe for Quicksilver is a romantasy for romantasy lovers. This author understood the assignment.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So count them off. Tell us what we got.
All right, we've got a poverty-stricken girl
Done.
with a secret power.
Done.
We've got a morally gray shadow daddy fae with slow burn enemies to lovers.
Done.
We've got high-stakes political intrigue and a looming war.
Sounds like a romantasy to me.
Honestly, this book had so many of the if I had listed off
yeah.
a laundry list of things I don't want to see in a book, I'm gonna be honest with you, this book had almost all of them, and I'm just gonna skip to this book was a 4.5 for me. Oh my god.
Oh wow. It was a 5 for me. I'm not gonna lie.
It was.
I loved this book.
She just missed the tier. She missed the tier award.
It's because you didn't cry.
I didn't cry, but damn,
I understand.
I can't believe I loved this book as much as I did.
I don't feel like you. I definitely don't inherently dislike most of the romantasy tropes, although Shadow Daddy is one that I'm running out of steam for just because I'm reading it so much. And I will admit, there are ways to do enemies to lovers that I will enjoy more.
Some are better than others.
Some are better than others. But really for me, I think the way to decide if you want to read this book, one, just read it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But if you loved ACOTAR, right? If you're reading Fourth Wing, I really do think this is in that echelon of romantasy book. I think it deserves, a place in that echelon.
It goes next to this. I still haven't read.
You haven't read ACOTAR,
I haven't
right?
read ACOTAR, and I haven't read Fourth Wing yet. Okay,
I'm with you. I haven't read Fourth Wing, but I have read all the ACOTAR books.
Okay,
and I've read Throne of Glass, which is Sarah J. Maas's.
She
has
series.
3 big series:
Gotcha.
Crescent City, Throne of Glass, and ACOTAR. I kind of didn't finish Crescent City.
Okay.
Couldn't quite get there.
All right. You're allowed to not love everything.
Yeah.
Right.
It was just more of a modern day setting. It was just a little different.
And you're like, no, I come here for the weird face stuff.
I'm here for dragons.
Yeah.
For the most part. But Throne of Glass is one of my favorite book series of all time.
Okay.
And I will not say that Quicksilver is better because there's so many more Throne of Glass books that at this point it's a full and complete series and I've read all of them. But if Quicksilver continues and makes it to 3, 4, 5 books,
and then we'll see how that goes,
and maintains this quality, we might have a race on our hands.
Okay, all right.
Is how good I thought this book was. So a couple of tags.
Yeah.
And again, I can very much tell that this author cut her teeth on dark romance because the book is not pulling punches.
Oh, yeah.
This is an enemies to lovers, slow burn, but you need to be prepared for them to be fucking mean to each other.
The amount of meanness was,
when we read Whispers of the Deep, Emma Ham.
And we said that was the most intense enemies to lovers with violence sort of involved.
Yeah, and I think the reason we said that one was really intense is because, the Undine and the humans were at war so intrinsically that it was hard to imagine how those characters could build a life together. And that's why it felt like a harsh enemies to lovers. But the characters were absolutely cuddling compared to what
compared to these
Saris and
Kingfisher
end up doing and kind of how they end up treating each other in this book.
Yeah.
It is harsh. Yeah, so for most of the book, Saris, I would say, kind of hates Fisher.
Yes.
And of course is very attracted to him.
Yeah.
And hates his stupid face because of it. He's hateable.
He's so hateable for most of the book. That's true. I mean, he does do a little bit of a redemption walk there. But for sure, for the first half of the book, be ready and willing to just want to punch Kingfisher in the face for most of it.
And I hope I remember to say this after we do the spoiler break, when we're talking about oaths and some of the oaths that he is actually keeping.
Right.
I will say, giving this book credit, there are some times where I detest like a miscommunication trope. I don't love when a simple, honest adult conversation could clear all this misunderstanding up.
Yeah.
That gets on my nerves.
Me too.
That never happened in this book.
No, you get a gold star for this one.
There are plot reasons that secrets have to be kept, right? There are good, in character, reasonable, logical reasons that all the information is not available at once. And I really appreciated that because that is probably the trope that kills a book more than anything for me.
Bad communication is it grates on my nerves so
It bugs
much.
me in TV shows too.
No,
right?
me too.
Movies.
Me too.
It's like if you guys just
sat down.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm glad that it didn't happen in this book. Other tags, morally gray love interests, honestly on both sides, forced proximity, a chosen one protagonist, big chosen one energy.
Oh, yeah.
We get fae and very minor spoiler, vampires.
Oh, yeah. It's a little
We get fae and we get vampires. Magic powers, of course, politics, war, torture, violence, extreme poverty, and themes of genocide.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if any of that's going to stress you out, now you know.
So the spice rating for this book, 2.5. When it gets hot, it's hot. But Romantasy is often the medium spice genre. And you need that page count, honestly, for the world building more than Smut.
There should always be room for Smut.
You could throw in an extra 50 page for Smut. But no, she keeps it.
I'm comfortable with the 2.5.
Yeah, she keeps a good Smut to way good plot Romantasy ratio. And I was satisfied with what we got because I listened to the audiobook.
I listened to it because you recommended it.
Okay.
And you weren't wrong.
Oh my God. All right. I am an eternal audiobook stan, okay? My blind grandmother, she's the one who got me into reading, and it was from audiobooks because those are the only ways that she could read books. And
That's really sweet.
Yeah. So
it's important to remember that audiobooks
reading.
is disability visibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, audiobooks are accessible reading. I will die on that hill.
100%.
Right.
Yes.
So I have no problem switching off between audiobook and the actual book. But when I turned on this audiobook, okay, as a person who has listened to a ton of audiobooks, this is the best audiobook I have ever heard. Okay. I couldn't believe it.
They did a lot of different voices.
Oh my, the guys.
I didn't know if that was normal.
No, it's not. And especially I just started another audiobook and they don't do that. And it's like, I think maybe the Quicksilver audiobook ruined me. And there's a reason why on Kindle, it's like almost $50, $60.
I noticed that. I ended up using an Audible credit for
me
it.
too, because I was like, no way. And afterwards I was like, oh, I get it why they were charging that much.
High production value.
It did have high production value. Yeah, no, they do, and I think they call it a duet style where a woman reads the woman parts and a man reads all of the male audio.
Right.
Yeah, and it was just one of those things where I was like, why have we never done this before? Or why have I never heard this before? Because when a girl tries to do the guy voices,
or vice versa.
It's 50-50, it's hit or miss. But this one, the production was so good. The lady who played
Saris.
Yeah, Saris was just so good. She acted the whole freaking book, all 650 whatever pages, acting. And the guy that did Kingfisher had that low grumble.
He did have a good growl.
Yeah, no. So it made the action parts hit. It made all the drama hit. And it made all the sexy parts hit even harder. I mean, I'd say listen to the audiobook on this one, but it may ruin audiobooks for you forever.
So listen with caution.
Yeah, listen with caution. The rainbow rating for this book, however, is a 1.
That's fine.
Yeah, and there was no explicitly queer characters, but there was a few people that were sassy.
I got vibes from Carrion Swift.
Yeah.
I feel like he has vibes.
Carrion Swift is down for it.
Well, you'll find out who Carrion is in a minute.
Yeah.
But there was a moment where he was flirting with someone and she was like, I'm married. And he went, he can come too.
Oh, yeah, he can come too.
So Carrion Swift, I think, gets honorary bisexual status, but we're not going to give it a rainbow point.
We're not going to give you a rainbow point for that.
Maybe in Brimstone. Let's do a spoiler warning pause, and then we are going to begin our journey through Quicksilver.
Stick with us.
One of the great privileges we've had since launching Smut in Public has been meeting authors and fellow creators who share our love of spicy romance.
We find new book besties every day, and supporting their work helps us all build a community together.
Our new book bestie, Ari, runs the Spicy Romance Book Club. It's an online apparel brand with cozy fits, perfect to wear as you curl up with the next book on your TBR list.
The Spicy Romance Book Club is a small, female, POC-led business, and Smut in Public listeners can enjoy 15% off their entire store order with promo code SMUTINPUBLIC.
Find your next book bestie by wearing your love of spicy romance literally on your sleeve. Right, good girl?
Megan, you're making me blush. Save it for the episode.
Okay, fine. Visit thespicyromancebookclub.com and use promo code SMUTINPUBLIC for 15% off your entire order. See you at the bookstore. Saris lives in the 3rd district of a city called Zilvarin. This is an isolated desert city, and they have strict water rations, which is a big plot point. And I know we've started 2 seconds ago, but I have to pause here because the writer manages to convey the emotional impact of being sort of thirsty
constantly,
and the life of sort of desperation that comes when you are chronically being starved.
Yes.
Basically. It's very effective writing, and I was locked in so instantaneously that I genuinely made my husband listen to the audiobook on a road trip.
Yes, that's
because
right.
I was like, this is so good. You have to hear it.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Although as he was listening to the book, he went, oh, so she's in the Dark Sun setting from D&D. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't actually remember what that is.
He said that too. And I was like, wow, I know a lot of D&D settings and I don't know which one that is.
Maybe we're too young. But I did go and look it up, and it's absolutely the Dark Sun setting from D&D. It's like a desert world.
Yeah.
And even like magic has been suppressed, and it's very cool. Anyway, all of our
D&D buds.
D&D
hey
fans.
guys, guess what? If you really enjoyed Quicksilver and you play D&D, there's a module for that.
Good news.
Yeah.
So I really loved the way that they conveyed, this.
It was
this
so
part
visceral,
of the story. Very
so
visceral.
fast. You're like, I feel hot, I feel thirsty just listening to this book.
Correct.
Yeah.
Survival in the 3rd is very difficult, and Saris ends up resorting to a life of crime to support herself and the only family member she has left, which is her brother Hayden. And during, one of her heists, she ends up stealing a golden gauntlet from a member of the Queen's Guard, from Queen Madra's, kind of palace guard. And this is more gold than Saris has ever seen in her entire life. It's basically priceless, but the problem is it's kind of like trying to fence the Mona Lisa, right? It's incredibly recognizable, and no one will wonder where you got it. And frankly, even if you have that much gold, it will be very hard to explain where you got it. Unless you're like,
oh, I won the lottery.
We're like parceling it out in incredibly, it's like if you robbed a bank, you can't just go buy a new car.
Right. Yeah.
You have to slow roll it.
Yeah. So she made a really bad miscalculation when she was like, I could steal that and my life would be set. And
we will definitely find out it was a terrible miscalculation. But again, it speaks to her desperation.
Yes.
Right. And like, it's a golden ticket, that it potentially could change their lives forever, could make all of their problems go away, but also could become the biggest problem in their entire lives, which it absolutely will be.
Yeah.
So her first plan is to take it to her mentor, Elroy, who's a local glassblower that she is an apprentice for, important plot point, and use his shop to melt down the gold and, find a way to either recast it into other things or find some way to break it apart and hide it.
She thought that she could take it to a chop shop.
She was taking it to the chop shop, which I do think is a good plan.
That was a fair plan.
But Elroy is more or less a law-abiding citizen, and he's like, no, it's way too hot. Get it out of my shop.
Nah.
I do not want the level of heat that's going to bring down. Again, with the deep world building here, I love that in this desert city where metal is very scarce, they don't have blacksmiths, but they still have glass blowers.
Glass blowing. Yes.
Elegant.
Oh yeah. No, the attention to detail on this was so good.
I weep. It was so great. So while she's formulating a new plan, we get to meet another one of sort of the denizens of the 3rd, Carrion Swift. And he is a former hookup of hers and has, I would say, Prince of Thieves, like very dashing vibes.
I liked Carrion the first minute he comes on.
I was obsessed with him. And when he realizes what she has, he's like, get it out of this district. Like, get it out of town.
Yeah.
Or we are all fucked.
Yeah.
Like, Madra doesn't give a shit about the 3rd, and she is going to come and burn this place to the ground if she even has an inkling that this gauntlet is here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, his prediction becomes true almost immediately. So Saris is, going back to look for her brother to keep game planning about this gauntlet, realizes that he's been cornered by guards and they are questioning him about the gauntlet. And she decides to make a scene basically to distract them and try to protect him, and does eventually confess that she's the one who took the gauntlet.
Yeah, because otherwise they're going to kill her brother.
Yes, they are very clearly, and frankly, I'm surprised they didn't just kill him anyway.
Yeah.
They seem like those kind of people.
They're like, they were in the, well, no, she specifically said Madra's going to want someone to torture. And they'll be very upset if they bring back a body.
Well, they could have taken her and killed him.
I guess they could honestly. The fact
I don't need to be giving the bad guards ideas.
The fact that only one person was arrested was a bit crazy.
I'm surprised. Yeah. I feel like cops just kind of arrest everybody who's hanging around.
Anyone who was watching, anyone who was recording.
Yep. Get in the car.
You're all getting in there. Yeah. But no, they just take her.
And you know what? Fair play, because actually when I said make a scene, I was understating it a little bit. She steals a sword from one of them and basically kills 3 guards single-handedly. So I would understand why they were hyper focused on her in that moment.
She does an amazing job. And there's a really good reason as to why.
Yes, a very good reason, which is that her mother, who is dead, used to help basically the Queen Madra rebels, right? There's, this undying queen, which we'll talk more about Madra in a minute, is a despot, right? She's a very authoritarian leader. And so there's a resistance. And Saris and her family have been associated with the resistance against Queen Madra for many, many years. And so that's how she got her training.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, which means we don't need to do a training montage where she picks up a sword for the first time and is suddenly a sword master.
Yeah, what's this? No, she's been training for years since she was a child. Yeah. And so when she suddenly becomes a badass warrior, it's super believable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's only being revealed to us to be a badass warrior.
Yes.
She's been a badass warrior the whole time.
Yeah. Saris gets arrested, and then she gets taken up to Queen Madra's castle.
Yes.
And Queen Madra is a mystery. She's been ruling for 1,000 years, and no one knows how that's possible, because according to what everyone knows, she's a human, and there's no magic in Zilvarin. At least as far as anyone knows, that would let her continue to live that long. So she is ethereally beautiful, but also super shallow and cruel.
In fact, she tells Saris that she's going to destroy the entire 3rd district.
Just because she's done this.
To punish her for this.
Yeah. When she's like, oh, they will rue the day.
Do more. Do the Queen Madra voice.
Saris Fane, they will rue the day that they heard your name. She's like, I will kill every single person in the 3rd, and no one will ever care. Oh,
Emmy, the quality of that impression is very high, and I'm impressed because you actually captured the fact that she sounds horny.
Oh, she does.
When she's talking about all of the genocide.
I'm going to murder you so hard, and it will be so. In fact, she does. She's
very breathy.
She's like, torture her to death. I wish to sit in the corner.
You're right.
And it was one of those moments
so
of like,
true.
yeah, like that feminine scary without being like an evil witch. No, she's gorgeous and she's terrifying.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to watch you suffer and I'm going to get off on it.
Yeah, so Saris gets dragged in front of Queen Madra, and she's in this this weird kind of a dungeon, and there's a very ancient sword embedded into the ground. And as she goes to talk to Saris, the queen starts asking her these crazy questions. She's like, did the Fae send you? She's like, who was the one that trained you, Saris Fane? And when are the Fae coming for me? And Saris is like,
what the fuck are the Fae?
What do you mean the Fae? You mean the fairy tales people are telling us? And so like she kind of stumbles. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's the point where she's like, murder her right now for my enjoyment. So at this point, her main henchman decides to carry out the execution.
She does leave.
Yeah,
to be fair,
she's like, I have better things to do. She says, make her sing, and so I can hear her from, I guess, I don't know, my rooms or something.
Yes, I'm going to go lounge by the probably ostentatious pool of water that I have in this hideously desert climate.
There is no way that Queen Madra does not have a giant pool. Yeah. So at this point, her henchman goes to execute her, and Saris Fane is like, this is it. This is my last chance. So she decides to fight. She finds out that she has magical powers for the first time, because the dagger that he goes to kill her with, she is able to melt down, and it turns into this liquid metal.
Almost like a sentient,
kind of blob of metal. Yeah. And it starts crawling up this guy's leg. So I really like Callie Hart's writing, But this scene takes a long time.
I wrote in my notes, oh, we're really making a meal out of this, aren't we?
It is pages of this metal crawling up his leg, and he's like, Saris, you can stop it. You can please don't do this. Please don't murder me with this ball
it like
of
cuts
metal.
away, and she's having some inner monologue or something else is happening, and then it cuts back, and it's
He's
like a foot
"Oh,
higher,
yeah,
on his leg, and now it's on his abdomen, and now it's like getting up to his
face.
chest.
Yeah,
it just took forever.
It did. It take a long time. In the meantime, she's also been stabbed in the guts. And
and she's dying.
She is literally dying, which also it takes a long time.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, gut wounds do take a long time.
No, she gets stabbed right in the guts, and we get to hear all the excruciating details of apparently what it's like to be stabbed in the guts. She decides that she's like, I'm gotta finish this guy off. So she goes for the sword.
She goes specifically for the sword that's stuck in the floor.
Stuck in the floor.
Because that is the closest weapon
And she's like,
that she's able to reach.
Yeah, so she goes to it, puts her hand on it, and all of a sudden, the floor.
Well, she like sword in the stone, pulls it out. So it activates a portal of like strange liquid metal.
We end up finding out that it's the Quicksilver.
Yes.
So as she's there dying, holding the sword, a shadow daddy appears. And this is our main male character, Kingfisher, and he grabs her and he whisks her away through the portal of the Quicksilver, leaving Zilvarin behind.
Saris awakens in the winter palace of Yavelia. And this is a land of fae and magic. And she's the first human to set foot here, again, also for 1,000 years. It is not a coincidence that those numbers are
match
both
up.
1,000 years,
Yeah.
which we will find out. And I really loved how she wrote the culture shock that Saris experiences, because she goes from starving, dying of thirst, to a land where it's snowing.
Yeah.
Right? There's water coming from the sky.
It's in the sky. It's on the ground. There's a picture of it in her room, she says.
They offer her a bath, and she's like, I've never had one.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah. The fact that she goes from having 6 ounces of water a day, that's her ration, to then being in basically, I don't know, Norway, right? Covered in freaking snow.
Big shift for Saris. And she has, like she's reeling emotionally in a very understandable way. And the first person that she meets is Everlane, who turns out to be the princess of Yavelia. And through their conversation, we really learn how evil and intentional Madra's isolation of Zilvarin has been. She very clearly went there through this portal and then used that sword somehow to seal it so people couldn't follow her.
Yeah.
And then set herself up as basically these people's goddess.
Yeah, she got rid of the old gods and she said now there is only Queen Madra.
Yeah, she killed off anyone, that was educated enough to disagree with her or strong enough to disagree with her, and set it up as her own little, getaway. We also find out that, fae are very long-lived. So it is a thing to note, Everlane says she's 1,400 years old. We end up finding out that Kingfisher is like 1,700 years old. So fae are extremely long-lived, which is pretty common.
It's pretty common fae trope, yeah.
Yeah. So immediately she is caught in a power struggle between her rescuer, Kingfisher, and I'm just going to call him Fisher from here on out. Yeah. That's really how he's referred to through most of the book.
His friends call him Fisher.
So between Fisher and Belicon, who is the king of Yavelia and also, Everlane's father. And those two hate each other very justifiably, because we do discover that Fisher is the king's stepson. Belicon, I don't know if he fell in love with, but decided he wanted Kingfisher's mother for himself.
He wanted her for himself, and he sent a letter.
He sent a letter and said, congratulations, you're engaged to me.
I hear you're a widow.
Move to the capital right now.
Yeah, I hear you're a widow. Guess what? You're moving in.
Correct. So she moved with her son Fisher, and then they had Everlane together. So that makes Everlane Fisher's half-sister as well. And their mother, unfortunately, at this point has passed away. Saris is told that she is an alchemist. So that trick that she pulled with the dagger, melting it and making it attack the henchmen, that is an ability that she could train if she tried to. And she has a particular affinity for this magical substance called Quicksilver. And a few things that we end up discovering about Quicksilver, specifically, it can open portals, or in some way it can act as a portal between different realms. And Quicksilver can be used to travel between any other Quicksilver pool, no matter where that pool is. So you could use Quicksilver to travel within the same realm. You could use it to travel between worlds.
Yeah, between the stars.
Right. So Yavelia and Zilvarin are not in the same realm.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah.
And an important note, when one Quicksilver portal was shut down, when Madra shut down the one in Zilvarin, it closed all of them across all realms.
Yeah.
Somehow it kind of quieted all of them. And that's part of the reason there have been no humans here for 1,000 years, because nobody could move between realms. And this is not a native realm for humans.
And it shut down all the trade and stuff in between all the realms.
Right. It caused a large amount of hardship across many realms. And we only really see how it's affected Yavelia and Zilvarin, but presumably in future books, we might discover how it affected other realms as well. And there were people trapped on the other side of portals.
Yes.
And we know that that's going to play in. It doesn't play in much to this book, but I hope that it plays into future
it probably
ones.
will.
Yes. So Quicksilver is portals, and Quicksilver can also be alloyed with other metals. So you can make Quicksilver swords and daggers and talismans and various other things that have some percentage of Quicksilver in them. And if you're a talented enough alchemist, you can get that Quicksilver to basically channel magic, right? And so you can get these sort of god weapons.
Yes,
or
magical
weapons.
blades, enchanted rings kind of a thing, pendants that allow you to travel through the Quicksilver.
Or shielding pendants, like all different kinds of things that we know are possible if Ceres is able to master this ability. And we also learn that there's a war on.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
A good old-fashioned fight. And so obviously controlling Ceres, thereby controlling the only alchemist who they've seen in 1,000 years, would be a really big deal and could turn the tide of this conflict that Yavelia is having.
Yeah, turns out that she's a very important pawn in this whole situation.
Correct.
Fisher is ordered to help Ceres master her alchemy. But his methods are not that great. He is impatient and he is mean. But everyone around him, including his sister Everlane and his friend Renfis, like they keep making excuses for him. They're like, "Oh, he hasn't always been like this."
They're kind of bewildered.
They're like,
honestly.
they're like, "Gosh, why is he being so mean? This isn't the Kingfisher we know."
Yeah.
He ends up making her spend a whole day cleaning out the forge that is in the castle. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna go work on your alchemy." And they get to the forge and it's complete
trash
mess
because no one's used it.
No one's been in there for
millennia.
years. And so she's like, "Can't you just use your Fey magic or something to clean this up?"
And he mocks her. He's like, Fey magic doesn't just do whatever you want, okay?
Yeah, he's like, we are the guardians of our magic. We can't use it for something as simple and paltry as cleaning a forge. But they end up spending the entire day doing back-breaking labor, cleaning out the forge and get it barely up to snuff. And then when Renfis like comes in to check and be like, "How's it going?" And he sees the forge,
he's like, "Why haven't you guys done any work yet? You could have just fixed this with magic." And Fisher snaps his fingers and it's done.
Yeah. And she is like,
flames on the side of my face.
Yes. I would have murdered him.
Yes. You would have been like, "We are enemies forever."
Yeah. I actually was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like this man. There would be a blood vessel bursting in my head, right? And so the fact that Ceres doesn't just murder him at this point, good on her, because I would have. But yeah, so Fisher proves himself pretty quickly to be kind of an ass.
Kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we're at the castle, we get some more backstory about Fisher, and specifically that he's been exiled for a horrible crime for the past 100 years. And that crime was that he destroyed the entire city of Gilfrey and won't explain why.
No one knows what happened.
Yeah.
He seems to be the only one who knows. And he's either unwilling or possibly unable to talk about it.
When Ceres asks him directly, like, what happened in Gilfrey? She's like, "Did you kill all those people?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did." And that's it. He doesn't explain anything about it.
It's kind of the trope where eventually he is going to be revealed as a good guy.
Of course.
Or at least you think that.
But he's got to be a bad guy at first.
But he has to be a bad guy at first. And so he isn't willing to clear his own name. He isn't willing to give context or possibly isn't able. Which we will find out more about.
Yeah. The other thing is that when he originally arrives, he is raging dog insane.
Yes, that chapter is actually called The Dog.
Yeah, yeah. After he comes back through the Quicksilver portal with Ceres, he is crazy because he gave his talisman to her to protect her for the Quicksilver travel, and he went through it by himself, and he is afterwards
Basically, it's like going through it unshielded.
Yeah. He's screaming and raging, and he's frothing at the mouth until they give him back his pendant for it. So there is this like sort of a thing where like, we don't know what's going on with Fisher. He's kind of like crazy even when he's got his pendant on, and he's especially crazy when he doesn't.
Well, he, as a child, fell into a Quicksilver portal and is the only known person, fae or human, to have ever survived contact with Quicksilver unshielded.
Yes.
And he's now done it multiple times. And when he was a child, somehow through that process, he ended up getting Quicksilver literally in his eye.
Yes.
And so Ceres notices that one of his irises has this silver swirling
cool.
kind of contracting, dilating metal in his eye that is a remnant from that first time he fell into the Quicksilver. So there's definitely something about him having his own different affinity for Quicksilver, and Ceres being an alchemist who also has an affinity to Quicksilver, where there's something very sort of metaphorical and biological and interesting, where they both have this connection to Quicksilver. But the bottom line is, as far as everyone knows, Quicksilver kills you and makes you crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's an analog to Mercury, right? Quicksilver is what Mercury used to be called.
Yeah.
And even though Fisher is alive, we, the audience, also think he might be actually insane and dangerous.
Yeah. Because Ceres can hear the Quicksilver talking. And she can hear the voices,
like weird words and whispers.
So I only ever imagine that literally in Fisher's head, he must constantly just have voices going on.
Right. Almost like he has like clinical schizophrenia where there's this constant low level hum, and sometimes it may get louder of voices that are not his. Yeah.
So
he can't
So
control.
when they're like, he might be crazy, I'm like, he probably is.
I think he is technically the definition of.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Ceres cannot focus on this whole alchemy homework that she's been given because she is remembering Madra's threat that Madra was going to burn the entirety of the third, everyone she's ever known, everyone she's ever loved.
And she has no reason to think that was a bluff.
Right. And she's like, I can't sit here and work on little trinkets, while my brother could be dead, right? Or the people I love could be dead. I need to know.
Yes.
So Ceres tries to get back home, but she knows that she needs a talisman to get back. And she's like, oh, Fisher has two. He's got a ring and a necklace. She decides to try to seduce him to get the ring off of his finger.
Brilliant plan.
Oh, yes. So she ends up crawling into his lap while they're in the forge, and they make out. And she does say this is probably like the best makeout session she's ever had. And during that, she slips the ring off of his finger and then packs her bag, runs and books it down to the Quicksilver pool, and then attempts to get herself back to Zolvarin. And luckily, Fisher's like, he shows up and he's like, no.
that wasn't really my talisman.
He's like, I was lying. That's actually just a regular ring. You're literally about to jump into a pool of Quicksilver. Don't do that. And he's like, let's make a deal. And as we all know, Don't make a deal. Don't make a deal with the Fae. But she doesn't know that.
She sure doesn't, but boy, we do.
Yeah. He specifically words it where he says, you're going to work on the Quicksilver. You're going to do what I tell you to do. And in exchange, I will go back to Zolvarin and I will try to find your brother.
Yes. And bring him back here
back here to you. And she's like,
the key part of this is his side of the bargain is I will try
to find your brother.
And her side of the bargain is I will follow your
orders.
I will
do everything you say. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. She didn't catch the small print on that one.
She sure didn't.
And he dives through the Quicksilver. And when he comes back, he has Carrie and Swift.
Yay!
I actually was hoping that Carrie and Swift was the love interest in this book.
Me
but
too.
when I saw the cover, I was like, no, that's not the description of who the guy's on the cover.
I was so excited when Carrion popped out of that fucking pool.
Yeah. So Fisher's got Carrie and Swift instead of her brother. And she's like, this isn't what we agreed to. And he's like, it's exactly what we agreed to.
Yes. And the details are, for starters, the only way he had of tracking down Hayden, you know, Saris's brother, is really by scent, you know, because they're related.
Yeah.
Right. So he was looking for someone who smelled like her, P.S. Carrion and her bones.
Yeah.
And when he walked up to Carrion and went, I am assuming, are you Hayden Fane?
Yes.
Carrion, who is a decent guy,
Right.
was like, I don't know who this
He's
shadow
like,
daddy
he's
is.
like, this guy looks scary as fuck. I need to protect Hayden. He's like, oh, it's me. I'm Hayden. Yeah.
And he fell on the sword.
He did.
So Carrion, all around, awesome scoundrel.
Yes.
And now is with Saris and Fisher in Yavelia.
I like to imagine the part where Fisher probably like punched him in the gut, put him over his shoulder, and then ran back to the Quicksilver pool.
That's exactly what happened. And he comes back fully unconscious.
Yes.
So this is a big oopsie, but the deal is still in force. So now Saris has to, quote, follow my orders, right? Do everything I say. But on the plus side, he did confirm the third is not on fire.
That is true.
Madra might have made a big threat, but she's also
She did
real
not follow
lazy and
through.
bored.
Yeah, it turns out she probably just forgot she said it. Yeah, and this ends up making her feel better because she's like, oh, it turns out my brother now lives in a different district. He's going to school. He has a whole life ahead of him.
Because of Carrion.
Because of Carrion. Yeah,
Carrion hooked him up.
Carrion got him out, right? And so her sort of like desperation to get back to Zilvarin,
Calms
it goes down quite a bit.
Yeah. We see more of Saris and Fisher's relationship developing through all of this. And I would call it flirtatious and caustic. I think Saris says, I hate his stupid, handsome face many times. Yeah. Because now that they've had their little makeout session, of course
she's sort of like,
bringing it up,
that
and
stupid face with those gorgeous lips.
You know, he's very much holding it against her, and he's difficult to be around, right? Fisher is enigmatic and unpredictable, and to me that gave the book very real tension. And because of the Quicksilver eyeball situation, he might actually do something dangerous and unpredictable at any moment.
Yeah,
and I felt that was very genuine.
Yeah.
He even has an episode that Saris witnesses where basically just the voices and the Quicksilver kind of overcome him mentally, and he has a little breakdown. And I loved that. It's the first vulnerability that we see Fisher have, and it's the first that Saris experiences as well. And I think it's a really big mark of progress in their relationship when she ends up witnessing that. So as we've said, Fisher has been exiled, you know, for about a century. So he's eager to catch up on the war effort, which he was a big part of previous to his departure. And that's also where, most of his battle buddies other than Renfear are stationed. Since he has to make sure that Saris is doing her alchemy homework, he decides to drag her along to the battlefront. And he decides to bring Carrion and her new pet fox named Onyx.
Yeah, she gets an Arctic fox familiar.
She gets a delightful sidekick.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan, whether it's like a robot or a little cute animal, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Along the journey, they end up stopping at a pub, and the patrons react to Fisher like he's a big damn hero, which is obviously kind of giving us that indication that this bad guy persona that he is playing probably isn't who he really is. And he, of course, downplays it. He's like, no, that's not,
they're like, you saved my entire village. My sister almost died. Then you saved her from a dragon. And like everyone has some kind of story about someone that Fisher saved. And they're all like, they're giving him a toast, right? And to me, this was the part where I was a bit like, I think I literally snorted because it reminded me of that thing on the internet where people say, and then everyone stood and clapped, right? Oh my gosh. It was, I actually thought this part was a little ham-fisted.
It was just one chapter,
She's like,
it was.
And then everyone tells her how great of a guy that Kingfisher is to offset how much of an asshole he is.
Yes, definitely. And Saris is understandably confused.
Yeah.
Right? She's like, this guy is definitely a dick, but everyone is telling me he's a decent human. Obviously, he's done good things before. I am conflicted. And again, but because of the Quicksilver poisoning, I did feel like it's possible he did do a terrible thing that was out of his control.
Yes.
And often in books like this, I know it's just a miscommunication.
Right.
I know that whatever happened wasn't really him. And he's just like in ACOTAR, where Rhys, everybody knows that Rhys is this terrible person, but it's fake. It's a persona that he's
Okay.
putting on.
Right.
In order to keep his people safer. With Fisher, it does not necessarily feel like it's
he
fake.
could have killed 100 people
Yes.
and just not been in control of himself. That is definitely the vibes he gives off.
It's the vibes he gives off, which makes it feel less like an irritating miscommunication trope to me. I really, really liked it.
I do actually think it also brings Sirius's fear to reality of
Yes.
what's he going to do with me?
It's a very legitimate fear because he may not be fully in control of himself.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. Eventually, we arrive at the Kalish estate, which is his family's estate where he grew up. And Saris really has not learned her lesson about making Fae deals yet.
Nope.
Nope.
So
they make another deal where Fisher says, I swear I will release you and allow you and Carrion to return to Zilvarin the moment you've made enough relics for me and my people.
Yeah.
And what we mean by relics is she needs to make more of the Quicksilver protection talismans that let people move between the portals.
Yeah.
And she agrees to this. He simply says, I need you to make enough. And she goes, yes, I agree to it. And then only after she goes, hold on, how many? And he goes, oh, there's about 15,000.
Yeah, they go to the forge and he's like, he opens up a chest and it's full of all of these family rings.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, it is one chest. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, one, all of these, like, oh, no, there's like 8 more.
Yeah, it's like, no, there's eight more barrels over there. And of course, this is going to take her decades, like an unknown amount of time, because once again, she has not yet even managed to make the Quicksilver
how to make
move
one yet. Yeah.
intentionally. The only time she's actually activated the Quicksilver was in a dead panic because she was bleeding out of her gut wound. So she hasn't intentionally manipulated the Quicksilver yet in any way.
Like, you'll figure it out.
It'll be fine.
I trust you. You'll figure it out.
NBD. Yeah, the moral of this story is don't make Fae deals.
Oh, no.
Never do it.
And especially because she can only try 3 times a day to come up with how to do it. And she's like doing crazy, like throwing hair into the Quicksilver.
Mixing bone ash with it.
Here's magnet, because there are no notes. There are no things from alchemists that have any kind of like, and this is how we did it.
Yes. And the reason she can only do it 3 times a day is they only have a very small quantity of Quicksilver.
Yeah.
And every time she finishes a day of experiments, she has to purify it to get it back to its original state so that she can keep doing these experiments to figure out what's going to make it activated and sentient again.
Yeah, so she's definitely been given a ridiculous Fae task, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Make all of this straw into gold kind of a thing.
Real Rumpelstiltskin energy.
It is super Rumpelstiltskin energy. Oh my God.
It really is. At the estate, she's going through these experiments. This work is happening. And at some point, during a dinner, I believe, the estate is suddenly attacked by creatures. They're called feeders, and they are mindless vampire revenants from the nation of Sansaroth. And this is the people that Yavelia is at war with.
Yeah, a vampire city state.
It's a vampire city-state. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you discover, the bad guys.
The bad guys are vampires. Yes. So she's badly injured in the attack. They break into the dining room through the windows. It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
And the sexual tension really ramps up.
Oh, of course.
Once she's injured.
Of course, because she's injured in front of him.
Well, he's a shadow daddy. So his protective instincts kind of come out once that injury happens. And he ends up forcing her to stay in bed using the oath that she made. So, he's about to go and be gone for a little while and says, stay in bed until you're feeling better. You can get up to go to the bathroom, but otherwise you're not allowed out of that bed.
Yeah.
And magically she is compelled to follow that instruction.
She's so angry.
She's furious, and it ends up prompting a very serious confrontation that they have later. Basically, as soon as he gets back, he wants to invite her to a dinner, like Beauty and the Beast style.
Oh, it was so Beauty and the Beast style.
Yeah, I send you
You
a
shall
dress.
dine with me tonight.
Yes, and she's so pissed at him. She's like, I'm bringing everybody to the dinner, okay? Yes. We're bringing Renfist to the dinner. We're bringing Carrion to the dinner. Yeah, we're doing the whole thing. And he's so mad that she brought other people to the dinner. And she's like, dude, what did you expect? They end up having a conversation shortly thereafter where she says, do not use that on me again. I know that we're having this weird push pull, will we, won't we? I know we made out. I know we have sexual tension. Whatever flirting or maybe is going on here, if you take control of my will again, even if it's to help me, we're done.
Yeah.
Whatever this is over. And he hears that, right? He takes that seriously. He does not use it again, even though there are other points in the book where he very much would want to.
Yeah, she's like, you know what? I would be more likely to do what you wanted if you just asked.
Yeah, which is fucking true.
Yeah, exactly.
And she, for her part, says, look, I've been going through a lot.
Things have been going on lately.
I know that I've been a lot to deal with also. I haven't exactly been pleasant.
True.
But I will hear you out. I will listen. I will try to communicate with you like an adult. But you just can't do that. And he's like, okay.
They have a good adult conversation about it.
Communication.
Love that. Love that here.
So eventually they end up at the war camp.
Yeah. So at some point, obviously, she's got to go out to the front, right? So Fisher takes her out to their war camp. And this war has been going on for decades.
At least.
There are permanent buildings, she says.
Well over 100 years.
Yeah. They've got permanent buildings at the war camp. People live here. Their lives are at this war camp. Some of the people are happy to see Fisher.
Yes.
When he arrives. And despite them asking, he still won't explain why he's been gone.
No.
For the last.
Which causes a problem.
Yes, it does.
That he isn't willing or, again, able
to say
what's happening. And this, I think, was the moment where I realized,
like, oh,
he actually might not be able
something's
to.
up here, yeah.
Because at this point, we as the readers have seen 2 oaths now that Saris is bound to, and how strict they are. And that's the moment where I went, oh, there's like an oath.
I was kind of wondering.
There's a reason it's not that he won't, he physically can't talk about this.
Yeah, and he goes back to the camp and he meets up with his his
wolf buddies,
his wolf gang, and he meets them, and they're all supposed to be his best friends, and
they're
like
his coterie of closest warriors,
and they're like, hey buddy, where you been? And he's just like, he can't tell them
about it.
Yeah, and this causes immediately a constant, like a huge conflict.
And unfortunately, this was a part of the book I didn't enjoy, which is there are only 2 side characters that are women.
Yeah.
And both of them, I don't think, are written particularly well.
They are very much micro tropes in themselves.
Yes. So Everlane is just a kidnapped princess, which we'll get to.
Yes.
And Danya is the angry ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she does not get a lot of depth. She is big mad. She's extremely irrational. And that only gets worse as time goes on with her in the book.
That's true.
And she is so furious that she ends up trying to attack Fisher with her ancestral sword. And Saris, again, in a panic, because the only time she's ever been able to manipulate Quicksilver is kind of in life and death situations, kind of goes, no!
Oh, she stands up and she's like, stop!
Right, and just kind of like gestures in the direction of what's happening.
Yeah.
And makes Danya's Quicksilver alloy sword explode into shards.
Yes, shatter into like 1,000 pieces.
Yeah, with her alchemist powers.
It's one of the parts where they're like, this means you're the most powerful alchemist that has ever been recorded, because
she's the chosen one, Emmy.
She can't just be like an alchemist. She has to be the most powerful alchemist ever.
That's right. She totally does.
Yeah. That was,
embrace the chosen one trope.
Yeah.
Embrace it. You love this book. You know you did.
I did love this book. Every time a trope happened, I had to stop and go, this was one of those moments.
I know.
This was the moments where they're like, you're the most powerful alchemist ever. And I went, God damn it.
So good.
But then I came back. Once she's now at the war camp, she finally gets to see what the war is about. And she sees the scope of the enemies that they've been facing. So the war camp is on the edge of this river. And the edge of their territory up against the vampire territory is in the middle of this frozen river.
The river is basically the border.
Yeah. And it currently, it's like, I guess it's sort of forever winter where they are. And so it's ice solid.
Part of the war effort is going out every morning and breaking up the ice because vampires can't cross running water. Very classic vampire lore.
Yeah.
And so once it ices over again, that would give them the ability to
run across. Yeah.
And so by keeping the ice broken up, they're essentially keeping the vampires at bay
and
to the best of their ability during the winter.
I really liked that part, actually.
I did too. And we also end up seeing Malcolm.
Malcolm, the vampire lord, the leader killer of all vampires.
The true villain of book 1.
Oh, yes. I definitely imagined him as like Dracula from Castlevania. Definitely had like the gravitas kind of a thing. And he comes out and he sees Fisher on the other side and he taunts Fisher.
Yes, and he seems to know Fisher a little too well.
When Malcolm taunts Fisher, it does
seems
seem very
personal.
personal. Like they know each other very well.
Yes.
So we finally get some backstory on the vampires. In the far past, the Fae were afflicted with a blood curse. This basically made them immortal vampires.
Yes.
A magical cure was discovered, but not all vampires
decided to use it.
Yeah, decided to take it, including Malcolm, who was the first vampire.
I want to digress here because I loved the blood curse of the Fae.
Yeah, that was really unique.
It was, one, I've never seen it before in my life.
Yep.
2, instinctively, if you told me a book had Fae and vampires in it, I'd be like, that's a little much. But in reality, Fae and vampires are not that different. I think they fit really well in this book together. And specifically, Fisher has a line that I loved, which is explaining to Saris, because she's a human, right? She's like, aren't you guys already immortal?
Yeah, she's like, well, what would the point be?
What's the point? And he goes, look, being long-lived and being immortal are not the same thing. And I loved that because it really, if you think about it, there is nobody more afraid of dying than someone who has lived for 2,000 years.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Once you've been alive that long, it becomes...
You're holding on.
It becomes a thing that you can't let go of. And it very much felt so rich and so believable that a number of very long-lived Fae nonetheless would say, no, I'd like to sacrifice my soul and my morality and my all of the above
to just keep going.
To keep myself going forever.
Yeah.
So good.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of the Fae, they still have actually their fangs left over from when they had this curse.
Oh, that's right. Fisher has fangs.
Yeah,
all the Fae have fangs.
Yeah.
And it's this
and
like...
anytime they get upset, they start elongating.
Yes.
Yeah, and they do also...
It comes up.
It comes up because Fae also don't mind a little blood play.
Yes. Oh my gosh, there's a scene. So Saris and Fisher have already kind of engaged a little bit.
He tasted the forbidden wine.
He's tasted the forbidden wine. Basically, I think they have a really intense makeout session.
Yeah.
And he ends up kind of nibbling on her neck. He doesn't fully bite her.
Yeah.
But he's clearly like, we have to stop. Like, I can't do that.
He has
a
fang boner.
He has a fang boner. And she has like a little nick on her neck. And she's like, oh, it's just a little bit of blood. Weird. And she ends up asking Renfear about the fangs or kind of about the interest in biting.
Yeah.
And he gets like really embarrassed.
Saris, don't ask me about that in public. We can't talk about that in public.
Saris, that's a sex thing. And he's like, who's trying to bite you?
Who's asking you to be
she's
about
like,
biting? No one.
It was hilarious. So anyway, vampire shenanigans. I'm totally down for it. And this is the point where I do think the book reveals that there is a compulsion happening.
She's like, what about Malcolm? How does he seem like he knows you? Why do you know this vampire so well?
Right. And Fisher finally kind of says, it's not that I won't tell you, it's that I can't tell you.
Yeah.
And she goes, shit.
Oh. At this point, Saris and Fisher finally consummate their relationship.
Bow, chicka, wow, wow.
And as they are doing it, Fisher is covered in all of these tattoos.
Of course he is, because he's a shadow daddy.
Because he's a shadow daddy. And he does actually have shadow powers. We haven't actually talked about that yet.
Oh, yeah. His magic is shadowy.
He's shadowy.
Self-explanatory.
He teleports. There's shadows everywhere. As they are together, his tattoos start migrating from his body onto hers. And in the moment, she's kind of like, well, okay, we'll talk. She's like, this can't be permanent. This just must be a thing that happens when you sleep with shadow daddies.
And he gets a look.
Oh, yeah. Which afterwards, she's like, hey, she's like showing him. She now has like a bird on her chest, and she has a bunch of these tattoos on her hands. And she's like, wait, buddy, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh,
don't worry about him.
Interesting. And he's like, here,
I'm sure they'll go away.
He's like, we can hide these. They're not permanent.
And he covers them with like a magical glamour.
Yeah.
To hide them. And this is, for us, the first indication that they might be a fated mate trope.
Yes.
Right? Which, of course, they end up being.
They end up being,
There is a magical, mystical chosen one link between the two of these, probably related to the Quicksilver.
Yeah. So she gets the tattoos. He's like, hey, don't let's not talk about
them. Don't tell anybody about those. No big deal.
So she's like, oh, well, all right. So she continues on with her day.
Yes.
And so she ends up working with Carrion to try to master the Quicksilver. And the first thing that she's tasked with is repairing Danya's sword, the one that she shattered.
I mean, she did break it.
She did break it for fine reasons. And as she's doing this, she's realizing that the Quicksilver has been talking to her. And it's mostly just these strange, like kind of disjointed voices and whispers. And as she's talking to Carrion, he's like,
this is the first time anyone other than Fisher
Yes.
is seeing her interact with the Quicksilver in a prolonged way.
and he's like, oh, it talks to you? Have you ever considered just asking it a question?
And literally, Saris is like, I'm a fucking moron.
Oh, but you and I were instantly like, as soon as we heard that it talks, we're like, should she just ask it? Should she just talk to it?
Oh, I definitely thought it earlier.
Oh, yeah, me too. No, it takes her forever. Look, you can accuse Saris of a lot of things. I don't think she has the highest intelligence score out of maybe even all of the characters in this book.
In a D&D character sense, she's high wisdom, low intelligence.
Yes.
And that's okay.
That's fine. But she's finally like, oh, okay, let's try talking to it. So she does speak to it, and it turns out that the Quicksilver wants things. It wants to make little fey pacts to do what she wants. She's like, oh, okay. So the first thing it asks her, as she's fixing Danya's sword, she's talking to the Quicksilver, and the Quicksilver tells her, I want a song to keep for myself. She's like, oh,
for our very own.
For our very
a song.
A song. It is like the creepy whispers
so
together.
good.
Yeah. They do a great job on it.
And so she says, oh, wait, I know a guy who can sing.
Yeah.
In Fisher's kind of coterie of, battle brothers.
What of his wolf boys?
Of his wolf boys, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Danya's
Wolf people.
Wolf people. There is one of my favorite side characters, Lorith,
yeah.
who is a bard. And she goes, okay, let's get Lorith over here and he can help sing a little song for the sword.
So he comes over and he ends up singing this song actually about Fisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of Fisher's
emotional.
adventures. So he sings this song in front of the sword, and then instantly afterwards, people are like, oh, what song? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And the sword is like,
thank you.
Thank you.
And Saris, as the alchemist, is the only person who remembers the song. Man, I loved that song.
That was so Faye. So Faye. Love that. That was some classic Faye shit right there.
Yeah.
So now the sword is fixed, and she ends up, and Lorith ends up taking it, and he's testing. He's like, oh, can I test the blade? And he runs his finger down it, puts blood on it for the first time, and the sword goes, you're mine. You're the person I want. And instead, when Danya comes up and she's like, hey, you fixed my sword. No, it's not hers anymore.
Yep, and the sword will not acknowledge her.
Nope.
It will not be wielded by her. And Lorith is like, I didn't mean to do it.
It was an accident. I was just testing. I was just testing the sharpness of the blade. No.
And he's like, here, Danya, it's fine. You take it. And Saris and Fisher are like, no, don't touch
that.
Because one of the facts about god swords is if you are not the intended wielder of the sword, it can do great harm to you because these swords have Quicksilver in them and they're pretty much sentient.
Yeah.
And so Danya, and again, I really struggled with the writing on Danya.
Yeah, fair.
She is so irrational and so unwilling to.
Because there's no way she doesn't know this about god swords.
She fully knows.
Yeah.
She fully knows the dangers of touching a god sword that is not bound to you. But she is so egotistical and arrogant to think that she can control the sword just because it belonged to her.
Right.
That she grabs it and blows her entire hand off.
It's some real Luke
It's
Skywalker
like dusted.
moment.
Yeah. Gonzo. That it is. Her hand is obliterated.
Gone. And specifically, they said it's her sword hand. So even more of a tragedy.
She doesn't even get to be in like the climactic scenes or anything because she's off getting like hand first
surgery.
aid,
Yeah, getting her hand replaced.
Danya was a struggle for me.
That's fair. I think she's gonna end up getting a good redemption arc personally in number 2. I'm willing. I'm not ready to flush Danya down the river yet.
So I'm scared because I do think in the book Carrion was flirting with her a lot.
Oh, they definitely had some.
Granted, Carrion flirted with a lot of people,
right?
But he has a comment where he goes like, clearly my type is like angry women who don't like me.
Yes.
See also Saris.
See all Saris, yeah.
And so I do think it's very probable that Danya and Carrion end up getting shipped.
Yeah.
In the second book.
That's where it's going in my mind.
But Danya better get a hell of a redemption arc if she's going to deserve our sweet Carrion.
Yeah, we're going to need to do the work on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm ready to watch someone be mean to Carrion for a whole book.
That's true. Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Right, but this is the point. Saris is like,
Good
I
news.
know oh, I now know how to work Quicksilver.
Yes.
So I gotta talk to the Quicksilver. I'll ask it. I'll ask each one of them what they want. She's making a relic so that people can travel through the Quicksilver, and it asks her, I want a secret.
Yes.
She's like, oh, okay. So she tells the ring, she says, the secret is that I don't actually want to go home anymore. I want to stay here, and I want to be here with Fisher.
I really liked that.
Yeah, me too. And it was like, oh, the ring's like, oh, what a good secret. I'll never tell anyone.
Yes.
Yeah, it was so cute. Each of the little Quicksilvers has their own little personality.
So there's another point where she's making, I want to say a sword, maybe
Yeah,
a dagger.
she's making another sword.
She's making
Like
a
short
weapon.
sword or
She's
something like
making a
that.
weapon for Carrion. And of course, because it's Carrion's sword, the Quicksilver goes, we want a joke.
I want a joke. And I love the first joke that she tells it. She's like, have you heard about the fire at the circus? It was intense. And the and the sword is like, no.
And so then Carrion's like, wait, I think I got a better
Carrion
one.
slides over with a delightful joke, which I won't spoil. And he tells, and the sword's like, ha 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 ha, that one. Give me that one. And so he ends up, the sword ends up going to Carrion. And she's like, okay, well, you have to name it. And I was like, call it Side Splitter.
That is such a better name than Simon.
Which is what he goes with. He gives
it.
This sword looks like a Simon. No, Side Splitter would have been very swordy. Also, it's a funny sword. It's wasted on me.
Put Side Splitter in your D&D campaign.
Okay, all right.
That's a great name for Carrion's sword.
Side Splitter will be the sword that you have to tell it jokes to make it go ultra powerful or something like that. Yes. It's a bard sword or something like that. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So the vampires attack again, and they have a shoreline standoff across the water. And Malcolm and his lieutenant Taladeus have captured the princess, Everlane. The entire character arc that Evelyn gets is existing as a princess and then being kidnapped.
True fact. She's Peach. She plays Peach in this game.
So Princess Peach has been bitten.
Yes.
And at this point, she is either going to die or she's going to have to drink Malcolm's blood and kind of become a vampire herself.
Yeah.
Which is made pretty clear that Everlane is not willing to do that and become a person that then has to kill other people to survive.
Yeah.
So there is now a ticking clock.
Yeah.
On
a 48-hour ticking clock of we have 48 hours to somehow figure out how to get her back and also save
find
her.
a way to get the vampire
and to get the vampire venom out of her.
The venom. Thank you.
Yeah. So this becomes like the whole last portion of the book.
Yes.
How to save Everlane.
Yes. And because it's, progressive, the longer it's in her system, the less likely it is they're going to be able to save her at all because it's destroyed too much of her body. You know, she's converted too much into her vampire thrall.
And she won't come with them if they try to if they just try to be like, Everlane, come to us. She's now enthralled to Malcolm.
Yes. As you said, we don't like to spoil everything. Yeah. So we are going to stop because this is really the beginning of the dramatic climax of the book. The only thing that I will say is, Fisher going to try to sacrifice himself. Yes. It would not be a Shadow Daddy trope if the guy you thought was bad, but who's definitely good, doesn't try to kill himself to save someone.
True. Yeah, he's at the last moment, of course, he's going to reveal himself to be the most tragic and tragicest of heroes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, closing thoughts.
Yeah.
I have a million of them. Quicksilver really caught me off guard.
Yes, same.
Just on the tin, I went, oh God, this is going to be like an ACOTAR derivative. This is going to be recycled, regurgitated tropes. I will be honest, it pays homage to every familiar romantasy trope you have ever seen in a romantasy book.
That is true.
But it does manage that without feeling derivative at all to me.
Yes, I was surprised that she managed to do this.
It feels so fresh.
Yeah.
Despite also feeling very familiar because of those tropes. It absolutely has echoes of, ACOTAR's expansive world building, the sharp fae politics. And it's even, it brings in other literature elements as well. It's got that Beauty and the Beast dining table.
You must dine with me.
Right. It has the Arthurian sword in the stone, where she's pulling this blade out of a pool of quicksilver and she's the chosen one. one who's the only one who's been able to remove
Yeah.
it. But I really feel like it stands up against the most popular books in the Romantasy genre right now, which for the most part are, A Court of Thorns and Roses and Fourth Wing. Those are the big gorillas in the room.
That's true. I mean,
now.
because she's only got one book yet, so maybe there's some of that.
Well, and that's what I mean. I do think I liked this better than ACOTAR. And I'm not willing to say I liked it better than Throne of Glass yet, but that's only because I've only read one book and I want to see how the rest of it shapes up. But it is in contention to possibly be my favorite Romantasy series.
I was so surprised about how good this was. Again, I go in blind. I just picked it up and went, it's a Romantasy, okay? And so many of these things, again, yes, super recycled. I'd heard them 1,000 times. And yet somehow she managed to make it good every time. Callie Hart is just a good writer.
To the point where you were angry
at
yourself.
I was angry at myself for how much
having.
I liked it. It's true. I not that I necessarily went in thinking I was going to hate it. It's just every time a trope came up, I was like, oh boy. But no, she does. It
all works.
It does work.
Yeah.
My God.
I especially loved the Fae mythology, which really echoes more classical depictions of Fae. And this is part of why I liked it more than ACOTAR, because the Fae and ACOTAR weren't really very Fae to me.
They go off on their own thing.
They were just hot, pointy-eared people.
Oh, okay.
But there is mythology about, be careful with the Fae. Fae can't lie, but they can deceive you. That's in this book. A Fae-bound oath is significant. The significance of true names for Fae, all of that was in there. And it meant that these weren't just, convenient plot mechanics to me. It really meant that I got to enjoy all the themes that exist in Fae literature, which are themes around, insanity, creativity, agency, consent, self-determination. Those are all things that are very much tied in with the mythology of the Fae.
Yeah.
And I got to have that in this book in a way that did not exist for me when I was reading ACOTAR.
I don't want to spoil the last portion, but on the topic of oaths.
Yes.
The oath that you end up finding out that Fisher ends up having.
Ugh, brutal.
One of the best bits I've ever heard.
Yes.
Even as a D&D player, I was like, damn.
The end of this book is so
It's so good. It's so good, which is again why we didn't want to spoil it. But yeah, no, that was also some really brilliant writing right there too.
Yeah, it really was. My absolute favorite MVP of the book, Carrion Swift.
Yes.
I was very scared that he was going to be disposable. I was worried he was going to be a body count.
Me too.
Because I was getting so attached to him. And I braced myself for either him to be murdered in order to tug at our heartstrings, or honestly for him to be love triangle fodder and kind of a throwaway, the guy she didn't pick.
Right. They don't make too much of a thing of the love triangle thing there. It's Carrie knows he's lost. He sees Fisher and he's like, oh no.
I don't blame you.
That guy's for you.
Have fun.
Yeah.
You both are miserable. Enjoy. I'm going to flirt with this other angry lady with only one hand.
Yeah.
He was honestly remarkably nuanced.
Yes.
And he gets his own big reveal at the end of Quicksilver. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Yeah, he's going to be around for the rest of the series, no question.
As a more central character.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled to get more of him.
Same.
I will admit, even Fisher, by the end of the book, had won me over significantly, despite being a brooding shadow daddy trope.
Yeah. Same. I mean, obviously, I kind of hated him from the get-go, and he does. He's
insufferable at the beginning.
He does win you over, and especially in that last 25% of the book where it's like, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I still don't love him, but I do no longer hate him, and I appreciate him as a character.
We'll take the progress.
Yeah.
And especially a lot of the end of Fisher's storyline in this first book shows us that this story, beyond being a romance, is wrestling with really heavy questions around autonomy and, silent resistance to authority. And Fisher and Saris have this in common. There's a lot that those two characters share in terms of their personality around this idea of how to resist. And I appreciated that. I mean, honestly, there's even the fact that, Fisher, like many shadow daddies, decides to protect Saris by pushing her away and being mean to her.
Yes, I'm going to be mean to her, and that will drive her away, and then we will both be safe.
Exactly. And Saris does the exact same thing to Hayden way at the beginning of the book when she's trying to get him to stop helping her with the guards because she's like, I did it. And he's like, no, I did it, because he wants to protect her too. And her solution is to be cruel to him and verbally berate him to get him to give up. That is exactly the behavior that Fisher exhibits with her.
It's the same kind of love.
It's the same kind of love. And it's a really lovely symmetry and development that these characters get to go through. And I was just here for it. Some other themes that I thought were really strong is, you know, when someone else is controlling you, what does that do to your identity?
Yeah.
Right? How do you rebel, or do you shrink and crumble, right? With these characters. And then also, what does it mean to reclaim your power in a relationship, right? Or with an enemy? And how do you go about doing that? And I will say, you don't have to read that deep into the book if you don't want to.
That's true. This is still a surface level enjoyable read, but if you want there to be depths, there are depths.
Then it's there. It's in the text, and that went from a good book to a great book.
It did.
For me. Well, this has been Smut in Public.
This has been Smut in Public.
Megan and Emmy, and I'm so grateful for you guys sticking around with us. I know this was
This is definitely going to be a longer episode. Yeah,
we did kind of go on, but
it's because we loved it. And you know what we're going to do now? We're going to go read more Smut, and we're going to report back.
That's right, we are. All right, bye.
Bye.